lot of insights here. Fahd, are you able to show the tool? And I'm here to support you in this. Thank you,
Sure.
Fahd, for.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. Thanks, Ran. Some very useful stuff covered by both Kathleen and Ran. So as I mentioned, that we're getting used to Zoom, so let me just share the model first and just put it on the screen. I just hope it's on the screen now.
Yes, it is clear.
Yeah. Right. So things what we have talked about is, potential impact of COVID-19, whether we like it or not. It's a reality. It's impacting, not just businesses, but on normal course doing things as well. But over here, what we were trying to do is to narrow down the discussion and see it from a very company's perspective, that what impact it could lead to for your business. And when there are so many factors to look at, it becomes kind of tricky as a starting point. And we should, what are the factors that we need to start with first, and how should we actually go ahead and assess the potential impact of it. So in this regard, what we have together is a very handy tool, uh, which can actually get you started on assessing the impact. It is a model which can guide you, which can actually quantify that if things happens, then what is the potential impact on revenue, and then eventually on cash, which is obviously the most important bit when it comes to uh, the, when it comes to assess that the business can survive this environment or not. So in coming up with this model, what we can look at is, the this is the tab which I say it has the factual data, in which you will capture the actual data that, or the actual in the performance that the company has achieved in 2019. Pretty basic information that you need to capture: your revenue. If there are business segments, then you can capture that in different fields. Then the direct costs over here, your expenses. If a business has a loan, then the financial charges and the quarterly installments. So the factual information of, or the factual financial information of the company is going in this column. And the column D basically takes into account the budget which was prepared pre-COVID period. So this is the time that maybe sitting, standing in November or December of last year and expecting the business to achieve this much of revenue, not knowing that actually the corona thing will happen going forward. So this basically gets you the starting point that business as usual, you're expecting some level of growth in your revenue, your margins will stay the same, some slight increment in your cost, and that's the position that you're trying to achieve in 2020. Uh, Over here, that's where the model helps you in assessing that, what sort of impact it could have. And now in doing this, we have looked at one aspect, which is the inflow part, in which we're looking at the revenue. So if we can divide in the revenue into two categories, is that there is one revenue which is your in-hand revenue, which is basically the backlog, which is secured at the time when the year was starting, and then there are new wins. And obviously, the corona, the COVID thing can impact both, and in different ways. So we are further dividing the impact into two further categories. One is the impact due to lockdown, and the second aspect is due to social distancing. And so if you look over here, there are four rows which is capturing. So let me just first touch upon the cases that we have over here. Case one is as is what you expected from last year. So there's no change, there's no loss of revenue. There's slight increment in your revenue from previous year. There's no loss in receivables or anything. So this is as is. In case two, we can look at the aspects that we have just discussed, how it will impact your revenue from, let's say, from the lockdown, and then from the social distancing, and then you can choose in the values over here that it will have an impact of 5% or 10%, or whether you will not have any impact of in-hand revenue in 2020. However, there will be some sort of an impact on new wins. In case three, you can have a different scenario in which you can say, hang on a minute, we can have impact on all scenarios, and the new wins, the impact will be more severe. So you can have all these inputs captured in this place. Talking about revenue, the other two things that we are trying to capture in the model is the expected delay in securing these contracts. So we might be in a position, a company could be in a position that it can go ahead and win new contracts, but obviously due to social distancing, due to the economic lockdown, and the slowdown of general economic activity, it will lead to a certain amount of delay in securing these contracts. This could be factored in here. You can actually select the number of months that you expect that you, on average, you will anticipate the contracts will be delayed. And then we can forecast the 2021, which will be the year after this year. If you're expecting any sort of increment, or the business will enhance or will resume or will revert back to the old levels, that percentage could be factored in here. So over here, we're just talking about the revenue and mainly looking at the loss of revenue and the timing, the delay in securing these contracts. Then we can move on to the receivable parts, which is your in-hand receivable, how long you think you will take to collect these receivable. And I think as Hatim mentioned that, you will come across few clients who say that, sorry, we cannot pay. And over there, you can come to a negotiation. All right, you can delay the payment, we can extend the credit period, or we can take some hit in shape of bad debts. That all you can factor in here in row 18 and 19. The cost of revenue we have included in here because of what's happening now. There is supply disruption, there is shortage of raw material, so that could lead to an increment in your cost, and you want to assess from that factor. You can put in the percentages over here, that if you anticipate that the cost would increase by an X%, obviously you can put in over here. And these are the inputs that are required for us to have a kind of a bird eye view on the cash flows. So once all of this is captured in, we can move to the dashboard. This is where all the information is presented, is concise and presented in a useful manner. So if you look at case one, this is business as usual. This is we're saying that, okay, we are anticipating growth, no problem in liquidity. This is a chart which even Grant has in his presentation, that the cash is positive. So we are all okay. With the inputs that we had in case two, let's see how the scenario looks like. We can see that there is some problem over here. We know that the business will improve by the end of 2020, or in the first quarter of Q in 2021. But do we have enough liquidity to get to that stage? This is what this model is telling us, that we have to have some sources of fund available in this time, either through extra financing through debt or equity injection, or by taking some extra measures such as reduction in cost, or what are the aspects that you can look at which will actually help you gain some sort of liquidity. Case three, well, we're taking it's a worst case scenario. We don't want to be in that position, but again, it's just for companies to assess what sort of margins they look like, assuming taking in the inputs that we have in our impact assessment tab. So the basic objective of all of this exercise is sort of a starting point for you, that to first quantify that, okay, there could be an impact, and it could affect your liquidity positions, and eventually the business continuity situation. So then further factors can be modeled into this model. And over here, we've looked at, we can look at certain what if scenarios. That what if we can reduce the cost of, let's say rent or other expenses and still going ahead with the business? What impact will it have? Will it enhance our liquidity position or not? We can look at other expenses as well, and all of this can go into this model and to track your financial position. We are more than obviously happy because every business is different, so there has to be some sort of customization. This is obviously a free tool which is available, which will be made available to you after the presentation, which any business can go and look at it. If there are any sort of customization or any sort of other factors that are needed to be built in, you can get in touch with us. We'll be more than happy to discuss that through, or if there's any specific case. Because eventually we need to, any business to survive this environment, they have to come up with a solid strategy. And once that strategy is established or developed, or in doing so, we need to see, the quantification of the numbers. And that's where this model can be really helpful. We'll be happy to take any sort of questions you have in the Q&A sessions. So I guess now it's over to Mariam.
Thank you very much, Fahad.